Hello, I am David Fisher. I'm from the Bear Educational Theatre. I have just thankfully completed my online workshop for IATEFL Poland called Using Drama in English Language Teaching, Even Online. And for various reasons, mostly my fault, my technical incompetence, we were not able to record that live session, which is maybe a good thing because a lot of it is just me letting people in and not knowing what I'm doing. So this is a very short recap video so you can have the main ideas and see the main things I was talking about. My big thing is using drama in education, especially language teaching. And a lot of that means using physicality, giving students a chance to move, maybe also just like imagining, creating stories. And so a lot of my session is about this and some practical tips. Here's the first simple game. I write a word for you and people were writing in the chat what the word is. So we just had it interactive purely through the chat this time. I did it like this. And of course, that's the word hello with an exclamation mark. So very simple warm-up activity. A lot of good drama work in the classroom, though, is connected with not talking, just getting rid of words and helping people express themselves physically. When we teach, we're very, very obsessed with the words, the language, the grammar, and saying it properly. In real life communication, words are a lot less important. They're about 7% of what goes on in terms of communication. And I think it motivates students. It's actually very liberating to get rid of the words sometimes and get physical. And that actually helps the words come out later as well. So that was a very simple activity. The next range of activities are just ways to get students talking on the camera or in the classroom, of course, it could be live. But especially for the online, this is very useful because I think when you're online teaching, I don't know, unfortunately, I haven't done online teaching, you know a lot more about it than I do. But there is interaction, of course, with the students. You get to see each other, you get them there. But I don't know how often they get to really have extended periods of time looking into a camera and explaining, telling stories. And it's a very important skill to learn, and the more you practice, the better. So here's a few activities to help students do that. First one is a game called Tell a Lie. I will tell you 3 sentences, 3 things about my family. One of them is a lie. You have to guess which one it is. Here's the first one. I have a sister called Sophie. She lives in the southwest of England. She is 8 years older than me. Number 2. I have an uncle called Robert. He lives alone in a flat in Birmingham in the middle of England, but he has a small dog, and it's a Jack Russell called Terry. Number 3. My mother lived in Wales for about 15 years, for some of that time in a town called Aberystwyth. So when I used to stay with her in the holidays, I would stay in Wales. Okay, and then on the chat we had people guessing which one was the bad one. The answer is number 2. I do not have an Uncle Robert, and he does not live in Birmingham, and he doesn't have a dog because he doesn't exist. There you go. But again, a nice simple way to have a game, have some fun, but also just to let students have an extended period of about 1 minute or so explaining stories. If you want to, we did it. I did a series of things called the 2-minute video challenge before the summer. Everybody was very busy. Nobody got that I was doing it, but 4 people did it, and the results actually were fantastic. And the students themselves actually said they enjoyed very much creating these simple videos. And so you could do the tell a lie as a homework where they have to create their own videos, or you could just do it in the classroom time, of course. Now, that's my next topic, was this 2-minute video idea. Now, like I said, I gave a series once a week for 5 weeks, different challenges that students had to do for homework to make these 2-minute videos. Now, the emphasis, though, for me is always, it's not on the technology and it's not on the visuals, it's on delivering language and on people simply engaging with other people. So the topics were very simple. The first challenge was a boring story, which means you just have to tell a story of anything that happened to you. It doesn't have to be interesting, because I don't want that to be a barrier to stop people just talking and expressing themselves. So we had a series of boring stories. I'm going to show you one video now that a Polish girl produced on the second challenge, which was called Show and Tell. And most people like showing objects they had at home and where they got it. It's the classical show and tell thing. She decided to tell us a bit about her relationship with her brother and how he taught her to love football. So you'll see this now. This is Violetta with her Show and Tell 2-minute video.
Hello, it's again I, Violetta. Today I would like to tell about my passion, namely about football. Here's my story of how I loved football. My brother David loves football. He always cried out to me, "Viola, come to play with me in football." But I didn't like it. When I saw a football match on TV, I quickly switched to another channel. At one point, when I was playing the football with my brother, I realized that I really liked it. I decided to learn various tricks with the ball. Of course, my brother helped me with this. It was very heavy, but I learned to do different tricks. Now, I love football. During the game, I can relax from learning and from stress. This game gives me a lot of satisfaction. My idol is Robert Lewandowski. He has amazing skills that everyone envies. Now, I'm calling out David to play football with me, and he's not me. I'm grateful to my brother that thanks to him I found my passion. I can't imagine living without football. Thank you and goodbye.
It's not necessary to worry too much about makeup or lighting or technical things. It's really just about telling stories. And that's what we're about a lot in the theatre. So that was our 2-minute challenges. The next activity was a music activity, and I'll give you a shorter taste of it now. I'm going to play you a piece of music. I'm going to play it in a class. I would play it 3 times, actually. I'm going to play it to you just once and explain how it works. For the first time, just listen to this music. Don't do anything. Just listen to it and try and think how it makes you feel. What are your feelings connected with listening to this piece of music? Now, when we did the workshop, I actually played that twice, but here's the tasks and how it works with the music. So the first time you just listen to it, get the general feeling of it. Then I'd ask you to listen to it again. And this time, without writing anything or taking any notes, try to imagine a film scenario. So imagine that this music is the soundtrack to a film, and you're seeing the film in front of your eyes. What's happening? What's going on? But like I say, the second time, don't take notes or anything. Just try to visualize that film. And then if it was in a full lesson, I would play the music for the third time and say, okay, now this time, please make some notes, write a little bit. What are you seeing? What are some of the images that come up? And then I put them in groups in a classroom or breakout room to share their stories and share ideas. Or once again, they could have a 2-minute video challenge to explain their version of the film that they saw in their heads. And you could even make nice little videos of their videos with the music playing underneath it as a way to do this. But the general principle of it, I think, is fairly clear, is people have amazing imaginations, and I think teachers don't use students' imaginations enough, or effectively enough, let me say. I think obviously you do, but there are some very simple, effective and drama-based, again, things we've taken from theatre, ways to get people seeing and imagining things. And music, of course, is one of the strongest. I mean, every show or film will often have a soundtrack to enhance the emotional content of the action and what's going on. And in this activity, you can just take the music, and this was darker music. It could be anything. It could be lighter music. It could be even a good way to introduce students to classical music or some famous classical pieces and see how they feel about them and what they see in them. But it's almost impossible not to imagine a film. I think everybody who hears that already does not have a problem to imagine a scenario around it. And so, of course, that's very, very powerful, giving your students this content in their mind that they already want to share. And also, it's just so satisfying, so empowering to let people have their own ideas, create their own stories, and then share those stories. It's just a very satisfying way to spend time. There's a wider principle on it. That was music being made to imagine a film. I'm going to show you one more little clip now, and it's actually a different impulse, but the principle is basically the same. This time I'm going to show you a film, but because the film isn't a complete story, it's just, you'll see it's just a car moving through some scenery. And because you've only got part of a story there, again, you can invite your students to fill in details and other parts of the story. So let's have a quick look at this. So here's the idea, probably the same thing again. You could show the video just once to let them absorb it and see it. And then the second time they see it, they could start creating stories like, where are they? Where are they driving? Why are they driving? Are they in the car with somebody? And either create the story, where are they going? They're going somewhere. Where are they going? Are they going to visit somebody? Is there a story? Is there a kidnapping or a bomb or something? Or is it just going to visit your grandmother? Once again, same idea though. You've given them one impulse. This time it's a visual impulse, and you're inviting them to fill in the story that is not being told in this visual impulse. Okay. Now here's the last thing I want to show you, but it's quite a big one. You'll notice that behind me there are some clouds and the sky, and most of you who know Zoom or filming techniques will know, of course, I'm not really in the sky. What I am is I'm behind or sitting in front of a green screen, and I'm sure most of you know this, but I came to the technology very, very late. We had to close our theatre in March of last year. We probably can't open it properly until next school year if we're still here. So we'll see how everything works out. We're hoping we can do some online stuff and just keep stimulating people, keep making fun. Teaching should be fun and it should be satisfying. And so we hope we can keep doing that online. But one of the, we're struggling. I'm struggling with technology more than you are. You have a lot more experience than I do. But when I got onto Zoom, the one thing that really made me happy, and I suddenly thought, wow, that's going to be great, and it has been great, is a green screen. So I'm going to switch off the clouds now. And now you can see the normal background where we are. And I'm just going to move the computer around a bit and show you what this is. So it's a green screen, but I've made it. This is my son's bedroom here. And I've just hung a string off the door, and you can see that. And there's another one off a cupboard up there. I've got some clothes pegs up here. It's a piece of green material, this normal green material. And I've got it hanging up behind me. And if you're on Zoom, which unfortunately is the only technology I know at the moment, I'm getting to know everything as quickly as I can. But if you are on Zoom, you can go down to the little camera, the little video camera icon, and you click on that, and it gives you virtual background. And at the moment, I've got none. I've chosen none, which means you can see the green curtain. But then you can put any of your pictures into here, and then you can fill it in. And so, for example, I had the clouds there. Here's my wife sitting on some logs. Here's some trees. And it's very simple. It's actually a bit hard to look at that, so I'll go back to where we were. But it's a very, very simple technique. If you look online, people are selling green screens for like a lot of money, and they're on special frames and things like this, and you can, so it's great. But the principle works very, very well, even with, like I say, a piece of cloth on a piece of string, and you hang it behind you, and you can change these pictures behind you. And I have a feeling more people should be doing this. And if you could get your students doing this, you can have an awful lot of fun. We have fun with our 6-year-old. We had the Roadrunner Canyon, I don't know, from the old cartoons with like these big mountains and things. And he was playing the coyote going, ah! And you can see the pictures behind you. Even if you're teaching, you can change the pictures behind you just to make a nicer look for yourself while you're teaching your students. But there's also a lot of scope for using it during teaching. And I'm going to show you just one more thing in a minute. But sometimes we do this thing, guest in a classroom. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But we can be talking, and I'll just lean away, and you can have anything up there. You could have a new picture can come up. You could have some text. You could have some grammar examples, and you could be pointing as if you're a weathercast, weather forecast person on the news. And look, here's an example of the present perfect. Now that's the wrong answer because. So obviously you have all the tools to do that. The green screen's a lot of fun though, and it's actually a nice bigger space, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to work with. So that's one other thing which I've learned and been using a lot. It's such a good tool, and I love my green screen. And here's the very last thing for this session. It's going to involve the green screen in a minute as well. And it's called Hot Seating Teacher Enroll. I'm absolutely certain that you've heard of this before and you know what it is. But we're developing that now. And that's going to be the main product that we're offering to schools at the moment. And I'll show you a little video about that, and then I'll talk a bit more about it on the other side. But here's our introduction to Guest in the Classroom. Hello, I am David. I'm the director of the Bear Educational Theatre. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about our new program for schools called A Guest in Your Classroom. If you've seen the other video about our online streaming program, this is part of that program. The idea is that we will be here in our base in Prague, and one of our actors will be able to join you in your class online. So you could stream live the person who's visiting you on a big TV screen or projector or any of the normal media you could use for that. We did this a little bit before the summer,
We did a little experiment. It was very successful. We're very happy with the results. And there are different formats that it can take. We did an interview with Gregory, one of our actors, who used to work in the Globe Theatre in London. And so you could have him in your classroom talking about his life as a professional actor, what it's like to play Shakespeare, what it's like to play in the Globe. Other things we did is we had actors in character. So another one of our actors played William Shakespeare, and he would be presenting himself as William Shakespeare. The advantage also of having a green screen here, and it means we can bring things to life by projecting pictures, images, even videos while people are talking. For example, William Shakespeare could say he was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, and a picture of his house can appear behind him as he's talking. So it's a very flexible medium. It happens through Zoom, so there's also lots of potential for interaction through things, well, like through the chat, obviously, through the various tools on Zoom, through Padlet, and we have different ways to make it a very interactive package. And of course, you and your students can use our guest any way you like. You can tell them what you'd like to prepare, what you'd like to say. They could prepare questions ahead of time. Of course, many ways to use it. And finally, I just say that it's a very common thing. It's well known. It's like hot seating or teacher enroll. If used well, it can be an incredibly powerful teaching tool. You could take material that you've been working on in the classroom and have the guest presenting it with a different voice in a different way. You can record it. You could use it later in your lessons again. So it could just be a simple discussion class, or a presentation about Shakespeare, for example, or it could be used very dynamically as a teaching tool. So please try it out, a guest in the classroom.
So that's the basic idea. We're going to do an example of that now. I'm going to put up a picture of somebody, but before we did, I was asking people to guess who it's going to be. So this is a writer, and it's a woman writer, and she is the third most published person or entity in the world or in the history of publishing. The Bible is number 1, Shakespeare is number 2, and this woman is number 3. And I was inviting people to guess who it could be. I hope you're thinking for yourself now. And it wasn't J.K. Rowling, and it is, and I'll put a picture of her up behind me on my green screen here. So I'm choosing the virtual background, and I can see the picture, and it is this woman. And this is a young Agatha Christie. So the next part of our session was I was asking people to write on chat some questions to ask Agatha Christie. We got some fantastic questions, and Agatha Christie is going to join us now to answer some of those questions. Welcome, Agatha.
Thank you.
Okay, and normally we were going to let you talk a little bit about your life, but we've got so many great questions here on the chat. We're going to go straight into those questions, and let's start with that question there. So, why did you start writing? What made you become a writer?
Well, that was a long time ago, back in my childhood. Actually, my mother suggested it to me, who was a very important, one of the most important people in my life. We were very close. And when I was young, like in my young teenage years, there was a time when I was ill for a longer time, and I had to stay in bed for a very long time. And I was very, very bored. And at that time, my mother suggested, Agatha, why don't you write a story? And at that time, I remember I was very astonished because I didn't think I could do anything like that. But my mother said, Agatha, if you have never tried it, how can you say you can't do it? Here you go. I'll bring you an old typewriter after your sister Madge, because my older sister Madge also used to write. And you just go and try it. So that was the beginning. I did, I tried, I started, and
then you wrote another 100 and something novels after that and became the most popular writer in the world, yes.
But But actually, there was actually a bigger gap, you know, than later when I was when I was like 19, 20, I wrote my first novel. And then again, some years later, I published my first book. So actually, the start was slower, and I wrote more and more as I grew older.
Okay. Another good question here, interesting one, is about you married a man who was an archaeologist, didn't you? Tell us, what was that like? What was it like being in Egypt on these archaeological digs?
So that was my second husband, Max Malowan, and indeed he was 14 years younger than me, but we had a lovely, lovely relationship. And indeed, I spent lots of time with him in the Middle East. And I like that very much. I generally loved traveling. With my first husband, Archie, I went on a big journey around the world, and it was one of the most fascinating things in my life. And then later with Max, I went indeed to the Middle East with his archaeological work. And I must say, I loved it. I loved being there. Sometimes it was uncomfortable. It was sometimes hard life, you know, in hot weather and living there, you know, in little, you know, simple huts and everything. But it was very interesting. I learned a lot from him, and I had there at one of the building sites, I had a little house which had written on it Agatha's house, because I needed a space to write. So that's where I was hidden, writing in the times when they didn't need me.
Lovely. So thank you very much. We don't have time for more questions just now, but that was Agatha Christie. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you as well.
Okay, so there you go. That was Agatha Christie. I'm going to go back to my virtual background. I'm going to put my clouds back because I'm quite enjoying them. Okay. There's the clouds. And but the basic principle is the same. You could do this. Now, we've made a nice product out of this. Like I say, we've got structured lessons. You could have us in the classroom. We could take over an English lesson, or we could substitute if a teacher's away. Or we're still trying to make interesting events, drama-based events that we can do even now when we're online. But you can do this. You don't need to have all of this, even the pictures or another person come in. You can come in and you can be Agatha Christie or whoever you need to be. It could be a wonderful way to use it for CLIL. You could have Isaac Newton coming in, and then you're doing mathematics with English or science with English and mixing subjects that way. So like I said in that little video, I think it's very, very powerful. And I think people underestimate, everyone, oh, hot seating, yeah, we know hot seating. I think people underestimate how very, very powerful it can be if used well. So thank you very much for watching thank you very much to the people who came to my session. Thank you for IATEFL for being so patient with me. I'm glad I got a chance to actually re-record this, because this is a lot easier to watch than what I was doing, trying to let people in and not getting the videos right and things on the original session. So thank you very much, and please do look up our website, and please do invite us to visit you online. We'll come in person if we can, but if we can't, we can still come and visit you online. thebeartheatre.com. Thank you.